Anna had lived in the old blue house for many years, long enough to know every sound it made at night and every place where the floor felt cold under her feet. The house stood quietly at the edge of a narrow street, surrounded by tall trees that moved slowly when the wind passed through them. Sunlight reached the front porch only in the early hours of the morning, then disappeared behind the roof like it was never meant to stay. The house was not broken, but it felt tired, as if it had been holding its breath for a very long time. Anna often felt the same way when she walked through its rooms alone. Her husband Mark had bought the house before they were married, and from the first day, he treated it like something fragile and important. He fixed things himself, even when help was offered, and he never rushed his work. When he painted a wall or repaired a step, he did it slowly, as if the house could feel care. Anna used to watch him from the window and smile, thinking it was just his quiet nature. She did not know then how deeply the house was tied to his heart. There was one rule Mark made that never changed, no matter how much time passed or how close they became. He told Anna she was never to go into the attic. He did not raise his voice or sound angry when he said it, but there was a firmness that made the rule feel heavy. Anna laughed the first time, thinking he was joking or being dramatic. When she asked why, Mark only smiled and said some doors were better left closed. As the years went by, Anna stopped asking about the attic. Life filled the space where questions once lived, and love often makes people accept things without full understanding. The attic door stayed closed at the end of the hallway, plain and quiet, almost invisible. Anna walked past it every day without stopping, and soon it felt like part of the wall rather than a door. She trusted Mark, and that trust became stronger than curiosity. When Mark passed away, the house changed its sound. The silence grew longer and deeper, filling corners that used to hold laughter and soft voices. Anna moved through her days slowly, as if time itself had thickened around her. She slept on one side of the bed and kept the other side neat and untouched. She cooked small meals and ate them alone, often leaving half behind. Grief settled into Anna like a second skin. It did not shout or break things, but it stayed with her everywhere she went. The house felt larger without Mark, and every room seemed to echo with things that were no longer said. Anna avoided places that held too many memories, like the chair where Mark used to sit and the shelf where his books still waited. And she avoided the attic door without even realizing it. One afternoon, heavy rain fell over the street and stayed longer than usual. Water slid down the windows in long lines, and the sky stayed dark even as the hours passed. Anna noticed a faint stain forming on the ceiling near the hallway, just a light mark at first. Over the next few days, the stain spread slowly, turning darker and wider. She tried to ignore it, hoping it would fade on its own. Eventually, Anna knew she could not wait any longer. She called a repair service and explained the problem in a calm voice that did not match how she felt inside. When the repairman arrived, he looked up at the ceiling and then down the hallway. His eyes stopped at the attic door, and he nodded as if the answer was already clear. He said the leak likely came from above and that the attic would need to be checked. Anna felt her chest tighten at his words. She heard Mark's voice in her memory, gentle but firm, repeating the rule she had never broken. She told the repairman she needed time to think and asked him to leave his card. He did not question her choice and left quietly, closing the door behind him. The house felt even more silent after he was gone. That evening, Anna sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea growing cold in her hands. The rain tapped softly against the windows, and the clock on the wall marked each second clearly. Her eyes kept drifting toward the hallway, toward the door she had avoided for years. She told herself it was only a room, only a space under the roof. But her heart remembered the promise she made without words. The next morning, sunlight reached further into the hallway than usual. It stopped right in front of the attic door, lighting it in a way that felt deliberate. Anna stood there for a long time, her hand resting at her side, her thoughts moving in circles. She whispered Mark's name once, not expecting an answer but needing to say it. The house remained quiet. Slowly, Anna reached for the handle and turned it. The door opened with a soft sound, and a thin cloud of dust drifted into the air. She stepped back for a moment, then climbed the narrow steps with careful movements. The attic was not dark like she imagined, but filled with pale light from a small window. The floor was clean, and the space felt calm rather than forgotten. Boxes lined the walls in neat rows, each one carefully placed. A small table stood near the window, and beside it was a simple chair. The room felt prepared, as if someone had been there recently. Anna's heart beat faster as she took a few steps forward. This was not a place meant to be ignored. On the table sat a wooden box, smooth and polished, with her name written clearly on the lid. Anna felt her hands shake as she opened it and looked inside. Letters filled the box, all addressed to her in Mark's handwriting. She sat down slowly and picked up the first one, her breath catching as she unfolded the paper. Mark wrote about things he never knew how to say out loud. He wrote about fear and regret and the hope that one day Anna would understand him fully. Each word felt careful and honest, as if he had placed his heart into every line. Tears filled Anna's eyes as she reached for the next letter. At the bottom of the box, she found papers and drawings that spoke of plans never shared. There was one final note that said the attic was not meant to hide secrets but to hold new beginnings. Anna looked around the room again, seeing it with new eyes. Something inside her shifted, and for the first time since Mark was gone, the house did not feel empty. Anna stayed seated in the attic long after the light shifted through the small window and softened along the wooden floor. The letters rested in her lap like something alive and heavy. She did not rush through them anymore and instead read each one slowly. Mark had written in a calm, steady way, as if he was speaking to her across time. His words did not ask for forgiveness and did not defend his silence. They simply told the truth he never learned how to share. As Anna read deeper into the letters, she began to understand the weight Mark had carried. He wrote about his early years filled with wrong turns and quiet failures. He explained how he once trusted the wrong people and lost something important because of it. The shame stayed with him even after he rebuilt his life. He feared that telling Anna would change how she looked at him. So he chose silence and tried to heal alone. The attic became his refuge during those years. Mark described long nights sitting at the small table drawing plans and writing thoughts. He said the attic was where he learned to forgive himself slowly. Not by forgetting the past but by creating something useful from it. Each box in the room held pieces of that journey. Nothing was placed there by accident. Anna stood and opened one of the boxes near the wall. Inside were notebooks filled with careful handwriting and sketches. They showed designs for small projects and ideas meant to help others quietly. Some pages held lists of names with notes beside them. Mark had helped people without telling anyone. He had done it through work, through planning, and through patience. Another box held old tools cleaned and arranged with care. Anna recognized some of them from the garage below. But many were new to her and clearly chosen for specific tasks. Mark had marked each one with notes tied to simple tags. He had prepared for something that never fully happened. And yet it all felt unfinished rather than abandoned. As Anna moved through the attic, she felt a mix of sadness and warmth. She realized Mark had never shut her out to hurt her. He had done it because he was still learning how to face himself. The attic was not a secret place meant to divide them. It was a fragile space where he was afraid to be seen before he was ready. Now that space stood open and waiting. That evening Anna returned downstairs with the wooden box held close. She placed it on the kitchen table and lit a small lamp beside it. The house felt different, as if it noticed her change. She made a simple meal and ate slowly while reading another letter. Mark wrote that one day the attic would need her more than him. He believed she would know what to do when the time came. Sleep did not come easily that night. Anna lay awake listening to the house breathe around her. Every sound felt softer and less sharp than before. She no longer avoided memories and let them come as they wished. For the first time, grief did not feel like an empty hole. It felt like a bridge still being built. The next morning, Anna woke early and felt a quiet sense of purpose. She dressed and went straight to the attic without hesitation. Sunlight filled the room and warmed the floor beneath her feet. She opened more boxes and read more pages. Each discovery added another piece to Mark's inner world. She began to see the shape of what he had been trying to create. Mark had planned to turn the attic into a place of learning and work. Not just for himself but for others who needed a second chance. He wrote about teaching simple skills and offering quiet guidance. He believed change happened best without attention. The attic was meant to be small and personal and real. Anna felt a tight ache in her chest as she read his hopes. She sat at the table and rested her hands on the wood. For years she believed Mark had kept something from her. Now she saw he had been saving something for her. The attic was not a reminder of distance but of trust. He believed she would finish what he could not. That belief settled deep inside her and refused to leave. In the days that followed, Anna returned to the attic often. She cleaned the window and swept the floor even though it was already neat. She organized the papers and placed the letters back into the box. Each visit made the room feel more alive. The house itself seemed to respond with quieter nights. Something broken was beginning to mend. One afternoon Anna found a final envelope hidden beneath a stack of drawings. It was thicker than the others and sealed carefully. Inside was a letter and a small key. Mark wrote that the key opened more than a door. It opened a choice he had been too afraid to make. He trusted Anna to decide what came next. Anna held the key and felt its weight in her palm. She did not yet know where it belonged. But she understood that her life was shifting once again. The attic was no longer just a room above her head. It was becoming a path forward. And she was finally ready to walk it. Anna stood in the attic holding the small key while the light from the window moved slowly across the floor. She felt calm but alert, as if the room itself was waiting for her next breath. The key felt warm in her hand even though the air was cool. She searched the attic carefully, looking at every wall beam and shelf. Nothing seemed to match the key at first. Still she trusted that Mark had placed its purpose nearby. Trust was something she was learning again. She noticed a narrow cabinet built into the far wall, partly hidden by stacked boxes. It looked older than the rest of the attic and carried marks from careful use. Anna moved the boxes aside and found a small lock at the base. Her heart beat faster as she knelt down. The key fit smoothly and turned without resistance. The cabinet opened with a quiet motion that felt respectful. Inside waited a collection that changed her understanding. There were folders filled with letters addressed to people she did not know. Each letter carried a tone of guidance and patience. Some spoke of learning a trade and others of rebuilding confidence. There were notes about meeting times and small tasks. Mark had planned a network of quiet help. He never placed his name at the center. He wanted the work to stand on its own. Anna read through several letters and felt a steady warmth grow in her chest. Mark had believed deeply in simple progress. He believed people needed space to try again without being judged. The attic had been his planning room and his shelter. He was not hiding from Anna. He was preparing something larger than himself. That realization brought tears that did not feel heavy. As days passed, Anna began to act on the plans she found. She made lists of what was needed and what could wait. She repaired small things in the attic with patience. She brought in better light and added shelves where Mark had planned them. Each change felt like a conversation continued. The attic grew into a place of purpose. Anna felt closer to Mark with every careful step. She reached out quietly to a few names from the letters. She did not explain everything and did not need to. She offered help with simple skills and a calm place to work. People came slowly and respectfully. They listened and shared their stories without pressure. The attic filled with soft voices and focused hands. It never felt crowded or loud. Anna watched how the house changed with this new rhythm. Rooms felt warmer and less empty. The hallway no longer felt long and silent. The attic door stayed open more often than closed. Anna noticed how her own posture changed. She stood straighter and breathed deeper. Grief no longer pulled her downward. It walked beside her instead. One afternoon Anna found a small notebook she had not seen before. It was tucked behind a beam near the window. Inside were short reflections written by Mark. He wrote about hope as something built, not found. He believed healing was a series of small, honest steps. He wrote that love was strongest when it allowed growth. Anna closed the notebook with steady hands. The people who came to the attic began to return on their own. They brought progress and gratitude without grand words. Anna guided them with kindness and firm care. She never felt alone while doing this work. Mark's presence felt woven into every decision. The attic had become a living space of renewal. Anna understood now why it had been protected. It was never meant to be rushed. As the season changed, Anna stood again by the small window. The trees outside moved gently in the wind. She felt a quiet pride for the life forming around her. The attic had changed her understanding of the house. It had changed her understanding of herself. She was no longer waiting for the past to return. She was building forward with steady intention. And the house breathed with her. Anna woke before sunrise with a calm energy she had not felt in years. The house felt awake with her, as if it sensed the work ahead. She moved through the hallway and up to the attic without hesitation. Light from the early sky rested softly on the wooden floor. The room held quiet traces of recent voices and careful effort. Nothing felt rushed or forced in this space. It had become steady and welcoming. Anna felt ready to take the next step. Over the past weeks, more people had come and gone from the attic. Each one arrived with a different need and left with something gained. Some learned a skill and others learned belief. Anna listened more than she spoke. She guided without control and helped without pressure. Mark's notes stayed close to her heart during every decision. The attic held a balance of effort and rest. It never asked for more than honesty. One morning a woman named Rose arrived with uncertain steps. She carried a small bag and spoke with careful words. Anna welcomed her and showed her the workbench near the window. Rose shared her story slowly without fear. The attic listened without judgment. By the end of the day, Rose stood taller than when she arrived. Anna saw how small care could bring great change. The house felt fuller because of it. Anna began keeping her own notebook beside Mark's. She wrote reflections and lessons learned through daily work. She wrote about patience and boundaries. She wrote about grief transforming into purpose. Each page felt like a continuation, not a replacement. Her handwriting grew steadier with time. The attic was shaping her as much as she shaped it. Growth moved in both directions. As weeks passed, the attic gained a gentle rhythm. Mornings were quiet and focused. Afternoons carried soft conversation and shared effort. Evenings returned the room to stillness. Anna noticed how the house no longer felt heavy at night. Sleep came more easily now. Memories no longer felt sharp. They felt like guidance instead. One afternoon Anna found an old photograph tucked into a book. It showed Mark standing in the attic during its early days. He looked younger and uncertain yet hopeful. The image brought warmth rather than sorrow. Anna placed the photo on the table near the window. It felt right to let him be seen. The attic was no longer hidden. It was shared as he once wished. Neighbors began to notice changes around the house. The yard looked brighter and the windows stayed open longer. People came and went with quiet respect. No one asked questions that did not matter. The work spoke for itself. Anna never advertised or explained. The attic remained a humble place. Its strength came from sincerity. One evening Anna stood alone in the attic after everyone left. She rested her hands on the table and closed her eyes. The silence felt kind rather than empty. She thanked Mark softly for trusting her. She understood now that love could exist through action. The house seemed to respond with a gentle calm. Anna felt whole in a way she never expected. Her life was no longer paused. The seasons shifted and the attic adapted naturally. New projects replaced old ones. New faces joined familiar ones. Anna learned how to let go when the time came. She watched people leave with confidence. That was always the goal. The attic was not a place to stay forever. It was a place to begin. One quiet afternoon, Anna realized she no longer avoided any room. The house belonged to her fully now. Every space carried meaning without pain. She moved freely and breathed deeply. The attic door stayed open by choice, not curiosity. What was once forbidden had become a foundation. Mark's silence no longer confused her. It had led her here. As evening light filled the attic, Anna sat by the window. She looked out at the trees moving slowly in the wind. The house felt alive and settled. Her grief had transformed into steady purpose. The attic had given her direction. It had given her community. Most of all, it had given her herself again. And she knew the story was still unfolding. Anna stood in the attic on a quiet morning and felt a deep sense of completion settle inside her. The room no longer felt like a project or a plan, but like a living presence. Sunlight filled the space and touched every corner with warmth. The workbenches carried signs of use and care. Shelves held tools and notes shaped by many hands. The attic had grown beyond its walls. It had become a shared story of effort and trust. Anna felt grateful for every step that led her here. Over time, the people who came to the attic changed in small ways. They arrived with uncertainty and left with steady confidence. Some returned just to share updates and quiet thanks. Others moved forward into new chapters of their lives. Anna watched them go without sadness. She knew the attic had done its work. It was never meant to hold anyone forever. It was meant to prepare them to move on. Anna continued her routine with calm purpose. She opened the attic each day and closed it with care. She kept Mark's letters safe and added her own beside them. The notebooks now held voices from many journeys. Each page reflected growth and patience. The attic carried stories without needing to explain them. The house felt lighter and full at the same time. Anna felt rooted and free. One afternoon, Anna received a simple message from a former visitor. It spoke of success earned through steady effort. The words carried pride and gratitude. Anna smiled and placed the message inside the shared journal. She did not need recognition. Knowing the attic helped someone take a step forward was enough. That quiet reward matched Mark's vision. It honored his careful spirit. As the year moved on, Anna noticed changes within herself. She laughed more easily and spoke with calm assurance. Her days felt balanced rather than heavy. She no longer measured time by loss. She measured it by growth and connection. Grief still lived within her, but it no longer defined her. It had shaped her into someone steady and open. The attic reflected that transformation. One evening, Anna sat alone in the attic and looked around slowly. She remembered the fear she once felt near the closed door. She remembered the promise she carried without understanding. Now that fear felt distant and unnecessary. The attic had never been a barrier. It had been a gift waiting for the right moment. Anna felt proud of the courage it took to open it. She placed the final letter from Mark back into the wooden box. The box stayed on the table as a symbol rather than a secret. Anna touched the lid gently and thanked him quietly. She understood now that love could guide even after silence. Mark's trust had changed her path. His hope had become her foundation. The attic carried his presence without sorrow. The house continued to welcome light and quiet activity. Neighbors greeted Anna with warmth and respect. The blue walls stood strong and steady. The roses along the fence bloomed as Mark promised they would. Anna cared for them with patience and care. The house was no longer tied to the past. It lived fully in the present. And it offered space for the future. On a peaceful morning, Anna chose to sit near the attic window. She watched the trees sway gently in the breeze. Her heart felt settled and clear. She knew her life had changed not through sudden discovery, but through steady courage and open hands. The attic had shown her a way forward. It had given her purpose beyond loss. And it had given her peace. Anna closed the attic for the evening with a soft smile. The door did not carry mystery anymore. It carried meaning and trust. She walked downstairs feeling whole and grounded. The house welcomed her with calm silence. Her journey had come full circle. What began with fear ended with clarity. And Anna stepped into the next chapter with quiet confidence.